An Australia without rugby league is not Australia. Rugby league has been a fabric of our society for hundreds of years. It's people's escape, it's people's relaxation, and we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of rugby league.
It has been those Australians who have worked hard every day. They have their dreams, they have their aspirations. These are the quiet Australians who have won a great victory tonight.
Whoa, Kris, Gail, easy doozy. How you doing? Hey, look, can I just name a quote of a well-respected journalist, and I'm not talking about Lord Volandis here, though he did push this angle. Malcolm Knox, I've read many of his books. I like his columns in the Herald, etc. Describes Australia without sport as not Australia. Begs the question, does it not, Kris?
What is the country in which we're now actually
getting close to?
Well, but we're kind of cut off because we've been in this bunker for how long now?
Well, I didn't want to bring that up, but gee whiz, the oxygen's in low supply, and you notice the food trickling in now? I mean, yes, we're not going to talk about our toilet paper scenario, but we're going to talk about, sardines, tuna, canned tuna. How much can you take, Kris?
A week ago you said you're a fan of canned food.
I was.
You're sick of the sight of it.
Sick of it, yeah. So, we'll now that we're still bunkered, we'll just carry on, and for the good of the code, because once the code dies, we're talking about rugby league here, NRL, then there is no Australia.
Because that's what Malcolm Knox is telling us. And hasn't he done fantastic work over the last 12 months, particularly about the Sydney Roosters? I know all Roosters fans genuflect to Malcolm and his opinion. So if he says that we are moving to a country outside this bunker without sport, it is not Australia, and therefore it's not Australia. Now, that doesn't really roll off the tongue because he's
Australia.
Because he's put a hyphen in there as well. I mean, it's not that easy. I wonder
you are not Australia. No, that's not this one, no.
Is this an opportunity to rename this great country?
My island home?
We go back to our Indigenous community. Yeah. We might be able to get a more appropriate
Great Southern Land?
Well, exactly. Ivor Davies. Who would have thought that Icehouse would rename our country?
Rename the country. Ivor, come on down. Is it Terra Nullis?
No, I don't think it is that.
No, it's not that, no.
That's not appropriate. Gondwana land, perhaps?
Gondwana, but without the land. Surely that's not an Indigenous phrase, is it?
Okay, just Gondwana.
Gondwana.
Do you remember the band Gondwana Land? The guy with the didgeridoo?
Yeah. They were ahead of their times, weren't they, Kris?
They sure were.
Yeah. Bring them back.
By the way, did you see Ivor Davies at the Firefight concert, Stephen?
I did, and did I tell you this?
No.
No. There was a close-up, and I just suddenly, because my father and mother were great friends of Frank Sinatra, and when Frank hit those years, probably the reprise years...
Sorry, excuse me? Say that again? My mother and father were great friends of Frank Sinatra.
No, fans, I meant to say.
Sorry.
No, they had been to see Frank in small rooms like the Silver Spade Room, and he said, I think, the variation of, and he's nodded to them. But fans.
I just got a vision of the Ferrises, Sinatra and Mia Farrow having cocktails. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Well, my mum and Mia would have worn the same sort of, 60s swirling colours, sort of caftan style wear, with the jewellery that's about that big. And when he got to his 50s or so, there was a certain look that Frank had with the eyebrows would lower a little bit, and there was a little thing here like we're both getting, Kris. You know what you call that?
Speak for yourself.
And there was a spot where Ivor looked at the camera and I said, "It's Frank Sinatra." And I defy anyone to go back to that footage and stop the still or look at it when it gets close and then go, just cover the hair and go, it's Frank. He could play Frank. It'd be beautiful. I would have thought. I mean, Icehouse at the Mill Hotel at Bondi Junction back in 1970.
What a shame that we can't go back to the duets area with Sinatra was singing with people, and he and Ivor could have done "We Can Get Together" or something like that. Would have been.
It can be cut.
No one said to me, "Did you see Ivor Davies? How great was he looking at Firefight?" Whereas they kept saying Alice Cooper, and I keep saying why, because he's wearing makeup, Stephen. That's the difference.
Right. Okay. Did anybody else wear makeup on that day?
I think Adam Lambert might have had
I think you're right
smidgen,
there.
and of course Brian May always wearing makeup.
Right, and didn't they look good?
Fantastic.
Yes. So, it's not Australia. We're trying to find the right appropriate term. And I guess that's something that we'll have to sort of work on here in this bunker. We've got plenty of time to think about that, Kris.
Tell you what, though, country without sport. This COVID-20 thing is a little bit more pervasive than we probably appreciate here locked up in the bunker, Stephen. It seems to be, dare I say, controlling the narrative.
Do you want to talk about the negatives or the positives first?
I think, well, there's been so much worry and concern in the community.
Yes.
Should we dive into the net? No, we should probably go to the positives.
Let's go to the positives, yes. Okay, well, first of all, the game is still going ahead.
Rugby League. Did you watch last night's game?
I did.
I didn't. Mm-hmm. Bulldogs and Cowboys, who's interested?
Really?
Yeah. No, look, I snuck a peek.
Look, you and I were here with this TV here. What were you doing when I was watching the football last night?
Getting ready for this show, doing research.
Right, okay. I watched the game and it was eerie. It was unsettling, I dare say. And I would never... I mean, I'm the first person to say that the project shouldn't be using canned laughter, or if they do, they should admit it, you know. But I think that a little bit of action, a little bit of white noise, even some crowd cheering noises would be appropriate, just to settle me down a little bit.
Well, we of course, we do our morning show on FBI Radio 94.5 FM on the Sydney dial.
How did that sound?
If you listen to that on the podcast, the same feed as this Fire Up's Quite Australia comes through. When we played crowd noise in the background, we lifted, Steve.
Oh, God, yeah.
We lifted. We were much better for the run.
Yeah. I think it's just the oral landscape. It's like wallpaper. You know, you're at home, you're listening to the broadcast, you hear the voices, hear Rabs go, you know, or whatever, and you rush back into the room to see what's happening. But the crowd noises keep you moving along because you're in that zone.
Apparently, the players said they could hear the commentators last night. That really is bottom of the barrel stuff, isn't it?
Wow.
But I mean, I think everyone points out everyone's been making the same joke, like the Roosters play to an empty crowd. So if you're playing the Roosters and you put crowd noise into the mix, you're really going to throw them off.
Oh, God, yeah. That could be a secret weapon. Hey? No, I think that's definitely the fact that it's still going ahead. We can talk about... there's another code, apparently, Kris, and they were talking about how they are world leaders in a certain sort of practice, I think, with this COVID-20.
Oh, social distancing?
Social distancing.
Well, you're talking about...
AFL, that's right.
But they play it on such a big area. It's so easy to social distance on AFL.
Really?
I mean, you talk about made-for-TV sport. Anytime I turn on Aussie Rules, I see like two people in the screen. That's it.
Victoria Rules, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. The VFL.
The VFL, yeah. They're going to suffer though, Kris, aren't they?
Well, they've already shortened their season to 17 games, Stephen. Yeah. And as I've pointed out before, I mean, what sort of sport only plays each other once?
And what's going to happen to Melbourne? Sporting capital of the world, right? What's going to happen to that?
Well, isn't sport a religion down there? And if Malcolm Knox has got it right, Melbourne right now is a bunch of agnostics and atheists, right? And there is going to be havoc wreaked on a large scale if they can't get to their footy and they're forced to watch it on television because when you watch it on television, it's just basically two blokes in a singlet running around at any particular given point with the ball because everybody else is downfield.
Yeah.
And
the cameras don't have an angle wide enough, do they?
And this is why it's positive because rugby league is
a positive.
It's going to get a jump on AFL, you know, and really establish itself not only as the best game on television, Stephen, but the best game full stop.
Right, and of course Melbournians, they can't go to their laneways.
No.
They can't do that. You know, their galleries, their museums, because they're high art as well. They can't even flee and go to Tasmania, dark mofo. Wilderness. Can't do it.
I heard Tasmania has just sealed the border.
Yeah.
Like they've just drained back
Haven't
straight.
Haven't we?
Well, to outsiders.
Yeah.
But I feel they can move freely between Victoria and Queensland.
Is that legal? Can they do that?
Well, I don't know, but I think they might have.
Wow. They're doing it in New Zealand or something.
Tasmania's sitting pretty right now.
They think they're pretty good, don't they? I think they want us to secede. Western Australia are always threatening, or Queensland threatening.
Essentially, the two safest places in the world right now are Singapore and Tasmania.
Not New Zealand?
No. Well,
why?
Volcanic activity.
I see what you're saying.
It's on tectonic plates.
Once for Warriors.
Right.
Goodness gracious me. Okay, so...
We'll talk about the Warriors, won't we?
Now,
we've had some news from the Warriors.
Yeah, now look, you and I, I don't know if we're foolhardy, but we've been tested. We're both negative. That's a positive. We're both in the same room for a long period of time, right? But a lot of broadcasters are told not to mingle with the, dare I say, mere mortals.
You're correct.
Yeah, so the high and mighty...
Like we've got Pat and Nick in this room. They wouldn't want to expose true broadcasters, real audio talent to human interaction.
No, that's right.
Because there's no way you can comment on the human condition if you're actually interacting with other humans. No. You need to be isolated. In dare I say, isolated splendour in order to pontificate on our dilemma.
Now I can sort of talk about the kings of radio, and I'm not talking about Jackie and Kyle or whatever.
John Lewis?
Is he still doing radio?
2SM, I believe.
2SM,
Which is
right, okay.
technically he's not doing radio if he's on 2SM. But
But
anyway.
we have heard that Ray Hadley has been isolated on his property out northwest somewhere. You
Dural,
know,
is
the
it?
religious belt. You
Dural,
know,
yeah.
and I think he's talking to horses in his time off, or yelling at them. Really, he said, "I'm going to arrest you."
Isn't that the Corona cluster out there? I mean, he's in the
Yes,
he's in the
it
eye of the
is.
storm. It seems
Yes.
like a bad idea.
There's something about those sort of end of times sort of types. You know, the religious right and catching something. It's good, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be bad if the last broadcast you heard as the apocalypse was upon us was bolts? Like,
Well, no, he'd be the first to go.
oh, you think so? Right. I thought he'd be sort of short
no,
up.
no. Oh, because he's been isolated.
Correct.
Yeah. It is airborne though, Chris. I don't know how far it can travel. I believe it's a very heavy thing. This virus,
Right.
this COVID thing.
Look what it's done to our
It's
football.
apparently about 500 millimeters. Like it's actually something you can visualize this way. It's sluggish. If you out, it drops pretty quickly, but it does hang on to surfaces for quite a while.
This gives me hope, Stephen. If
Yeah.
it's tangible and it has some sort of
It's
moment
substance.
to it,
Yes.
we should be able to do something about
Absolutely.
it. Might take 10 years, but you know.
Yeah. So, Hadley Bolts is out there and he's probably yelling at somebody, no doubt about his son or his, his ex-wives, I don't know, somebody, But
John
then
Singleton.
Then there's Alan Jones, right? Now, last I heard, because you can actually get the binoculars from over the OPT and you get him out there. His bath, his sauna bath, his great big thing looks straight out onto Sydney Harbour.
That's right, 'cause
so you
he's-
can see him in his bubble bath.
He's in he's in the toaster, right?
He's in the toaster.
And you're saying that he's now on lockdown for 2GB, broadcasting direct from his bar?
Isn't he loving it?
Oh, he's absolutely in
Because he
heaven.
just brings the minions in, and they're all gloved up and sealed, and they're wearing their hats and their tails and all the rest of it. Yes or no? So bowing and scraping and walking out, not going closer than a couple of metres and leaving things for another minion to push it forward,
I tell you, the Jones Butler is earning his or her money right now.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing Lord playing outside the Opera House steps a couple of years ago.
Lord?
Yeah, Lord.
With an E.
Not Lord Volandis, but Lord with an E.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I looked up at the toaster and there was Jones rattling on the window saying,
he?
turn it down, turn it down.
But it's double glazed.
Yeah.
We can't hear him.
Anyway, he's got a direct line to the Opera House, as we know, a la the racing scandal, which takes us back to Peter
Yeah,
Volandis. Lord Volandis,
And
sorry.
isn't he popular down there at the Opera House?
Absolutely. And the volume was so quiet at Lord that I could hear the person standing next to me, who unfortunately knew all the words to all the songs,
Louder than Lord.
louder than
Yes,
Lord.
same thing with Michael Jackson at the Shogun. So quiet.
At the cricket ground.
Was it the cricket ground?
Cricket ground 96 and Parramatta 1987.
87, right. So, okay.
If I'm right in saying
96 was the one, I think. Yeah, I assumed
History
it was
tour.
The Shogun. But it was the SCG.
It's SCG.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ridiculously quiet.
Did you go in 87 out of Parramatta Stadium?
No.
No.
Story. Andrew McManus, you've heard of him?
Oh, yes, I've heard of Andrew
The colourful
McManus.
character. He was our manager at the time.
$900,000.
Oh, that band that's going viral, Flotsam Jetsam. As heard on FBI this morning.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, if you want to hear the once and only time in your life, unless it really travels, he had a booking for us, and we had already decided we were going to can the band. And that booking was actually in Parramatta that night, and we'd all gone and bought tickets to Michael Jackson before the booking knowledge. He said, guys, in this industry, you've got to have ethics. You've got to stay by your contract, by your word. We're going to play that show, even if it's your last show. But we've got tickets to Michael Jackson. And, of course, for regret, I've had a few, and that's one of the many big ones.
Can I say, Stephen, first of all, very noble. And
Very noble.
And second, you idiot.
Yeah. I'm still standing.
I was there with a group. I remember my friends, I think Jenny Murphy was there and my now partner MJ and whatever. Mm-hmm. And we enjoyed the concert so much that we walked out of Parramatta Stadium straight to the box office and bought a ticket for the next day.
Did you really?
Yeah. So the flaw in your story here is he did play 2 consecutive nights there. Were you booked for 2 nights in Parramatta?
Well, we had tickets for one, so I guess maybe...
So you're too cheap to spring for another bunch of tickets?
We're musicians, Chris. We'll talk about that later.
Gig money.
How the arts are being affected by this damn bug right now.
Are they? I've completely missed it in the bunker. Is there a problem?
Did you get a T-shirt? I did not.
No, but it was very interesting because the Jackson show was so good in 87. It wasn't quite where it needed to be in 96, I thought.
Right.
But everything looked so spontaneous. But then when you saw it back to back, you could see how rehearsed it was.
Yes.
And, of course, unsurprisingly, in that part of She's Out of My Life, where he actually breaks down and he goes, "Can I come down there?" Right. And they bring a girl out of the audience.
Oh, really?
And, and he sings to her. he cried at exactly the same moment in exactly the same way.
Did he just?
Yeah.
He's nothing if not professional, Chris.
And of course, the trivia buffs amongst us, Stephen, always like to say, who was his backing singer on that tour?
Was it...
In a big blonde wig?
Yes. Hang on. Because he used...
Elton John.
You got me there.
Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow, that's right, yes. Because he had Bowie had Tony Basil doing choreography.
Yes.
He also had an Australian guitarist, didn't he? That she had that sort of long, sort of, Tina Turner-ish sort of hair and whatnot.
Yes, yeah.
Name forgotten.
Orianthe, you're talking about?
Orianthe.
Yeah, who went on to play with Alice Cooper, who wears makeup.
Of course you know that.
Dot.
Isn't he looking great these days?
He's looking great. And Orianthe's loved up with the dude from Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora.
Right. Who on an Instagram feed of Noel Rogers was doubling up on living on a prayer together.
Look, I know we're maybe talking about sport, but there is no
6
sport.
degrees.
There is no sport, but I was at the metal festival. What was the metal festival that got canned? Not Download, no, the prior to that, the one that they used to do out at the showgrounds.
Right, yeah, I know.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the stands with my friend Brett, and Sambora came on with Orianthe, and the kid sitting behind us go, "Who's this?" And the guy goes, "I have a feeling he was in Bon Jovi," right? And they launched into Living on a Prayer, and the other kid goes, no, just a terrible cover band.
Dear, we digress as we can. So, the Parrot.
In lockdown in the toaster, broadcasting...
Washing his feathers, or having somebody wash his feathers whilst he's got them. Has he got a golden microphone or platinum?
No, Laws has got the golden, so it's in Jones's rider that whatever the metal's index is, he has to have a microphone made out of a more valuable metal than...
What have we got?
I
Aquamarine.
think this is some sort of acrylic, I think.
Acrylic, isn't it?
What's the thing from Wakanda? Vibranium. I think you'll find...
Vibranium.
I think you'll find that Jones's microphone is made out of vibranium.
I'd be thinking Argyle Pink Diamond, wouldn't it? Australian in the top of the ladder. So the Parrot's getting washed. He's broadcasting. I'm assuming he's got direct feed from somewhere to get information. Or does he just make it up, Chris?
Well...
I mean, who would do that? Who would do that?
I don't. It's an interesting theory that, in fact, Jones doesn't need any connection to the outside world and he still finds 3.5 hours of content.
Well, I found out. I didn't know this, Chris. Super Rugby's been cancelled.
Excuse me?
I didn't even know it was on.
Don't they play in summer?
Cricket?
It's good news.
Good news.
That's
anyway.
really good news.
Okay.
No rugby.
Now, very, very... I mean, what category do we put this in? Reggie Rabbit?
Oh... Reggie Rabbit can't get into Redfern to train, Stephen.
You can't.
No.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, but last night's game, the first one, behind closed doors, can you sing a little bit of Charlie Rich for me?
And when we get behind closed doors.
Groundbreaking stuff last week when that was played.
Makes me glad that I'm a man.
They made, is a dispensation? Is that what the break clause?
An allowance?
An allowance, yeah. They basically broke the rules and let the debutante last night's family come in through them, sit way up the back
Is
of
that
ANZ.
true?
Yes.
Oh, that's outrageous.
It is outrageous. So my point is, why not just sell out the top 2 seats, like, rows at ANZ?
Well, the rule says 500.
Would that be 500?
Well, no, I think that there's probably room
Why
for
not 500 loudmouths?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just let them out at the top so they're way away.
Amplify them. Drop mics.
Put mics in.
Yep.
Boom. Problem solved.
I feel it's harsh that the mascots are not allowed in.
Mascots, yeah.
I mean, are they a health risk?
Are they what?
Are they a health risk? Mascots.
Reggie the Rabbit would be.
Yeah, because there'd be a certain type.
Yeah, it would be. They're a worry, aren't they?
I think Dennis Carnahan, who one day will be on this show, he's actually served duty as Brutus, the Canterbury Bankstown mascot.
He's called Brutus? Is he a dog?
Yeah, Brutus. And there's a female dog who I'm not sure what her name is.
Right, okay.
What was it, Calpurnia, I think, in Julius Caesar. But yes,
they get
no
delusions
mascots.
of grandeur, haven't they? Those bulldogs.
Did you see that picture of Reggie behind the locked gates at Redfern Oval? It really tore at my heartstrings, Stephen.
Peering through.
Not.
Now we differ on this one. Daryl Braithwaite will not be performing horses at Cogra this weekend, nor will the Cronulla fans, as we mentioned earlier, farting on the seats, on the sacred seats of the Dragons.
I would have thought we agree that that's a huge positive.
It is a huge positive. What, Daryl's had a pretty good run, hasn't he?
Well, I think so. And as I mentioned this morning, did you see him at Firefight? The idea here is that for some reason, songs that bear no relation to this nation have become our national anthem, quasi-national anthem.
For example?
You're the Voice.
You're the Voice.
Horses.
Quite understand.
Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline.
Right, and I've been campaigning for a long time now that these songs should not be played at sporting events. If sport ever comes back, Stephen, it's a chance for our local product
To jig this whole concept.
Exactly right.
So my point is that we have these unofficial national anthems that we go, yes, please, it's horses. And when did that happen? And it supersedes something else, like You're the Voice was superseded by. And now I think, horses has had its run. Don't Change may have been the Hoodoo Gurus had a shot at it. Who are you thinking? You thinking Ivor again?
Well,
Ivor doing Frank Sinatra?
If the country is renamed Great Southern Land, it seems appropriate.
That's it, yeah.
It's a bit of a slow burn, though. Imagine all the
but
kangaroos
You're
lined
the Voice
up.
in a way, but it had a big vocal, didn't it?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to
maybe you can sort of cut in. I mean, you, obviously the Rumpy band, My Island Home, seems to be a front runner for
the Angels.
Marseille.
Marseille be perfect. Why wouldn't you? Hey, about a port in France.
And I don't know where this leaves Peter Allen. I still call Great Southern Land my home. I don't know.
And apparently Peter Allen wasn't actually a resident of Tenterfield. He was a resident of Armidale, but his uncle apparently grew up in Tenterfield, and he just thought that was more romantic for the storytelling.
Armidale Saddler?
Can you trust anybody these days?
No, not at all.
No. So, music, though, has been mightily affected by His Royal Highness COVID-20. There's a lot of sort of people going, oh, woe is me, and the violins are coming out, so to speak, and the tears are flowing, and Facebook has become active again.
Not that you can go see them playing the violins now.
No, you can imagine it, though, can't you? Cue the,
Well, I'm an artist. I'm a creative type. I've heard it all before.
And I'm on that side of the fence. I agree that we used to. Should we talk about this now?
We can talk about it now if you want, or we could have a break.
Let's have a break.
All right, let's have a
break. Come
break.
back in a minute, yeah.
The song I listened to is Horses by Dale Braithwaite. Nice, relaxing NQ theme to it, cowboy theme to it. Just a good all-round song. Gets me pumped up.
That's the way it's gonna be, little darling.
Riding on the horses, yeah.
Kris, it's good to see you back again. And
Thanks,
how did you enjoy the canned beetroot we just had as a snack in the bunker here?
As I've mentioned, I mean, there's no comparison between canned pineapple and fresh pineapple. Canned pineapple beats it every time. And I've had, occasionally I've been dragged into those fancy restaurants and you see beetroot, beautiful. And when it comes out, it bears no relation to what I've got out of the Golden Circle can.
What we grew up with.
Yeah, which is Nirvana for mine.
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Kris, we're talking about the positives and negatives of this impact of the virus in sport as we speak. We all know that streaming is going gangbusters and Deliveroo and Uber Eats are going gangbusters. Supermarkets are doing very, very well. I'm assuming that radio and podcasting will do pretty well. The arts, though, in general speaking, you need usually an audience once you've made something, a cinema. An auditorium.
You still go to the films? They've got 100...
Some of them are closing. I think Palace, aren't they?
Okay. So Hoyts the other day said 100 people per screening, which with some of the muck they got on right now, they were never going to get
They'd be lucky
anyway.
to get 5, yeah.
And you are asked to social distance. But,
right, okay.
That's
it's 3 seats or something, is it?
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's the ideal date, isn't it? Is you take someone to the movies, but you don't have to sit next to them in case it's not going that well. And there's no pressure to make the move.
No.
Because if you make the move, you just get fresh air.
You're talking about the popcorn. The hand in the popcorn.
I don't know what sort of wild things you get up to in the movies, Stephen.
Have you never done that, Kris?
Never.
You're a prankster at heart.
Never. It's just...
But if you're in an intimate relationship, Kris. But the whole joke of that is it's surprise, right? The surprise element, right?
Do you remember the Jamie and Vanessa parties? Do you remember those?
I do.
And they used to,
at the bowling clubs, yeah.
Well, no, when they went to the Metro
yeah.
and they had the theatre and they'd screen something in there like Quanta Scotsy or Mars Attacks or something like that. And one day we were in there taking a break from the party, and I don't know, I think Mars Attacks was actually on the screen. And then
what a great film.
Brilliant film.
Yeah.
And the security guy comes in with the torch and he goes past us. And then there are 3 gentlemen at the party. Engaging with each other, right?
Fully engaged.
And he walks past them and shines a torch, and the guy goes, "Hey, you can't do that." And someone was smoking. And he kicked the guy who was smoking out of the theatre, and he goes, "Boys, carry on."
That's a wonderful world, isn't it?
It was a great party.
Wow. Look, I know they're finding, desperate times, desperate measures, and of course everybody's jumped on Instagram and Facebook to do. I'm going to sing a song for you, and please donate to my Bandcamp or whatever they do. Now, Kris, I don't know what you feel.
It's my worst nightmare, by the way. I mean, I have enough trouble trying to keep up with music and streaming services as it is.
As it is.
The last thing I want is more content.
More content, yeah. Well, here we are, Chris, delivering more content for your listening pleasure if you find us. The notion, though, that the government will bail out certain industries. Now, we both know that culture was wiped off the face of this planet in Australia by the most recent government. So, therefore, when it comes to sort of delivering investment to prop things up, Qantas, hello, $80 million asking for.
Got to fly.
You know, got to fly, isn't it?
Yeah.
They got to fly.
They got to fly.
But you don't have to listen to music.
Lord Volandis, we need, approximately $500 million for Rugby League.
Yeah, Rugby League.
Rugby League.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's because it's our recreation, it's our relaxation.
Right.
And the game is vibrant, Stephen.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. You make the very good point that the government's already destroyed entertainment. So you can't revive whaling at this particular point in time. So as an industry,
I get that.
As an industry, I think it's just like times change.
That's it.
That's it.
Yesterday's news, extinct.
Read a book.
Right. Who's going to turn out the lights? Steve Kilby?
There'll be a ceremonial turning out the lights. You'll have
Daryl,
Barry O'Farrell,
John, Farnham. Yeah.
You'll have Neil Diamond,
Maybe Angus if he's still around.
Barry O'Farrell,
Yes.
Mike Baird,
Oh, my bed.
Gladys Berejiklian.
Yes.
They'll all be there.
Yes, of course.
Because normally they turn the lights on at Vivid, don't they?
Yeah, it'll be a big switch, right?
Yeah.
Like a pretend switch.
Well, Vivid's gone, right?
Vivid's gone.
Quite
yeah.
rightly.
Yeah.
And so instead of the big turning the lights on ceremony, we will have the big turning the lights off.
Of entertainment.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you the very disappointing news about Vivid, of course. We finally got that interactive light installation of Todd Carney's bubbler at the Opera House up and running. It was being tested as we speak. Had to pull it. It's gone back into storage.
Well, they had no choice because, as we said, the stream, the kiddies could come and
Change the colour.
Yeah, because Vivid would coincide with the State of Origin series, which will now be
blue.
Now be played in December, and so if New South Wales was up, sponsored by Gatorade, blue.
It goes blue.
And if Queensland are up, go maroon.
Maroon, yeah.
And so that vision, which is a vision that I know you've had a lot of.
Invested.
You joined Vivid.
Yeah, for that
purely
purpose.
To deliver that.
Yeah.
It must be a very difficult time for you, Stephen.
It is very difficult. It's very sad to take after all that effort and work. But that's the arts. You live in that time. No matter who owns it.
It's ephemeral.
It's ephemeral. You're right.
But I've got no sympathy for the arts here because as we see Rugby League doing its best to stay alive and saying we will provide content, empty stadiums, crowd noise, whatever. We might even find a dispensation for mascots. But they have always got into bed with the important things in life like Fox Sports and Channel 9.
You're not talking about smoking and drinking.
Right. You go down to these bloody Sydney theatre companies and ensemble theatres and Darlinghurst
too precious for that.
I was going to see Chorus Line on the weekend and they're offered. We say, hey, we want to live stream you. We want to put you. We want dedicated arts channels live
Chris,
here. And they go, we don't want to be sullied by television,
Have you not
Stephen.
seen Fox Arts on Foxtel?
Yeah, and they just do these half-hour things about rock and roll.
Okay. They interviewed me for disco. So there are... look... Some of them maybe.
And your interview would have been played on that channel about 76 times in about a week because they just recycle material.
Absolutely.
Because all these up
the
themselves...
amount of people who saw it...
all these up arts institutions could have had their productions live.
Yep.
I'm doing PWA. We're doing a wrestling show at Max Watts tonight.
Yep.
It's been canned, of course.
Yep.
We are live streaming an empty arena show.
Aren't we strange bedfellows, though? When you talk about sports and arts, the arts industry considers sports for the Philistines. You're saying it's all entertainment. It's all distraction away from the harsh realities of life.
Wrestling acknowledges its role in life. It's sports entertainment.
So
we are live streaming in an empty arena, and it'll be fantastic, Stephen.
I know. You just as easy, read, or let's say, I don't know, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, as you would go to the wrestling. Correct?
I have no idea what you just said.
T.S. Eliot.
We were referencing Dylan Thomas on our show this morning.
Yeah. Like you would go to see South get beaten.
You can show what impact the virus is having if you're starting to quote English literature. It's not good.
Banjo Patterson then.
Right. The arts is effectively dead, Steve.
Yeah.
I went along last weekend. I saw The Darkness with Justin Hawkins doing.
You got that in?
I got that in.
Yeah.
He was taking hand sanitizer and putting on his naked chest.
Yes.
As a last resort.
Yeah.
By the way, I have to apologise. In this show last week, I said I've been listening to the new album Pinewood Smile. Came out in 2017. They actually had one called Easter is Cancelled.
Okay.
And they did that start to finish of the show. And then I went and saw Midge Ure.
Oh, yes.
Formerly of Ultravox.
And many other bands.
Yeah, and he did a bit of visage, whatever. Some
What's he
punters in the
wearing?
metro. He had a nice black T-shirt and pants with a jacket. And I did remark he gave...
That sounds nice.
And he gave an hour and 40 of quality 80s new romantic pop.
Yeah.
Never took the jacket off.
Never took the jacket off.
But he had all the shapes and he had the voice. And to me, if the last thing I heard live in terms of a musical performance in the modern era is Vienna,
You'd be happy.
I mean, it means nothing to me, but it was just
Yes.
that was a nice way to finish.
Yeah.
And while I'm at it, can I also say I talked about Lee Scratch Perry, who I saw at the Metro,
Yes.
and he'd done a record, and I said because I was thinking of poor old Andy Weatherall, who
Yes,
departed.
passed away, yeah.
It was actually Adrian Sherwood who did Here Come the Warm Treats with him from On New Sound System. So,
No.
Yeah, guaranteed. Adrian Sherwood and Lee Scratch Perry.
We'll go through this in a second, okay?
Sorry,
I'll show you
we
proof
digress.
otherwise. You've lost me there. What was the last band in existence performing live? I mean, I think that there was a band it's not Stereophonics, but there was a band in England creating a bit of uproar because they had huge stadium shows, which they didn't cancel. Have we seen anything in the last few days? Or has everything gone quiet?
Well, no, technically, and there's been some dialogue online about this, is that go support bands playing small shows. So I imagine places like Camelot and whatever are probably still...
Feeders have shut their doors.
Have they?
Yes.
Right, so it's really down to bare bones.
Bare bones. I think Camelot were forging ahead,
Yeah.
but not many.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oxford Art were considering shutting this weekend.
It would be poetic if the last live performance was at Camelot, really, wasn't it? Because Camelot was sort of the Arthurian dream.
Camelot, yes.
And I think it's
Kennedy-esque.
and I believe that whatever it's called, I like to say Calliope, where they're going to fly all 16 rugby league teams
Yes.
and make them live there for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
That
Near Gladstone,
that
Queensland.
facility will be renamed.
Yeah, but we
Camelot.
were discussing later than that. Why not Homebush? You just wall it off, right? You get all those shonky buildings, empty them. You know, they're half empty now.
Well, CBA they scarp it.
Put all of rugby league in Homebush. They play at any stadium. You can play 3 games at once. Boom,
It's a pretty good.
Lock 'em
idea.
down.
It's a pretty good idea.
lock them down. Now they're getting close to that, right?
Right.
Now Lord Volanders hasn't quite taken the bold step yet, but hey, all hail the Warriors for their selfless. The whole world is applauding their selfless gesture of playing rugby league.
So the Warriors called a press conference this morning, and I can imagine.
We thought they were going to go. We're going home.
Can you imagine how excited the journalists are to say, "Well, I can't go social distancing," you
Yeah.
know, because the last thing you want to do as a rugby league reporter is cover the Warriors.
Sit with Buzz.
Yeah. But they've announced that they're staying.
Yeah.
And I think we have worked out why. That because of player availability and some have had to go home and they've got some injured players who are currently in quarantine, the bold initiative of the NRL is to give them access to reserve grade players from other clubs and from players who right now, a la Josh Hoffman, don't even have a current rugby league contract.
Yes.
And if the Warriors could get hold
It's a
of...
lifeline, is it, Chris?
Yeah, if the Warriors can get hold of the offcuts of other clubs, they are instantly a much better
Bum.
team than they are currently
So,
are.
and the quote, the journalists are going, now my second team. I didn't know that. Now my second, because there's such... Oh, it says here, Rugby League World hails unbelievable Warriors sacrifice. They don't get to see their kiddies, their cousins, their brothers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Power.
I don't know about this. You're a rugby league fan, and I respect your view.
Yes.
Right. How often are you itching to get out to a Warriors game?
Yes.
So the fact that the Warriors are still in the
I
competition.
want them to do well, though, Chris.
Do you? I mean,
I do.
Here's the choice: Dragons get a bye every now and then to relax, refresh, and recuperate.
Yes.
Or they have to play the Warriors. Which would you prefer?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is the Warriors? I thought it was just the Australian Rugby League. Have I got that wrong? National Rugby League. Have I got that wrong? What are the Warriors doing here anyway?
Yes. Well,
This was another chance.
Yes.
To recalibrate.
and they've
Stephen.
shut their borders to us.
We're not welcome.
It's hardly national, then, is it?
Jacinda Ardern said, "Piss off."
Yes. We don't want
You're
you.
not welcome.
You filthy Aussies. And does that mean our criminals can't be deported back there? they're shut in as well?
Well, you saw those pointed
She's
words.
clever, that one,
She had
isn't
the
she?
pointed words.
Yes,
I'm telling you,
yes.
Scott Morrison is not showing leadership. The New Zealand Warriors should be on the next boat out of here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, and talking about my second favourite team, I used to call the West Tigers my second favourite team, but after what Benji Marshall did last week, they're no longer, Chris.
Is that right?
They're in the bad books now.
You're really that bitter?
That bitter that on your home ground, a player that you threw it, can I use the word lifeline again?
Yes.
After you reckon he'd been dudded by a number of situations, or he dudded situations, right? West Tigers, go. Where do you go next?
Auckland.
Auckland, then go.
Yes.
Then where?
You. He went to you.
Us.
Yes.
What do you do for us?
I pointed this out. He
You
came
have, I
second
know.
in the Dally M
I
voting
keep
one year.
hearing it, but did nothing for the team.
Took you to the playoffs.
Took us to the playoffs, and then nothing.
So I've answered your question. What's your point?
And now he comes, and he's like a spring chicken again.
Well,
16 years old. He's grumbling. He's doing all these tricks.
Rolling back the...
And beats us on our home ground. First game.
Why isn't the expression rolling back the years and winding back the clock?
Yeah.
Whereas in rugby league, it loves to mix a metaphor.
Reeling
it's now
in the
rolling.
years?
Well, Steely Dan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's rolling back the clock for some reason.
Right, that's not right.
I suppose it's the digital age.
Round
Is it? I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
So they're not your second team anymore? Who is? Titans.
Goodness gracious, Kris, there's nobody now. Everybody's on the outer.
We live in not Australia, where sport doesn't exist. And these are the things that they haven't thought through. By introducing these restrictions, no one has a second team anymore. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, they're just a heartbeat away from not having a team at all.
At all, yes. Let's come back, Kris, in just a moment.
And over goes Staggs. Have a look at this try celebration.
What is it, Kevy?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm trying to work it out. Here we go. Getting the hands warm, are they, Dan?
Looks like it. We'll need further explanation on that one. No, you know what they're spraying? It's
the ball grip.
The hand sanitizer.
Oh, the hand sanitizer.
The hand sanitizer.
Hello, hey. Kris, you've got a sneak peek into the books of the Roosters, haven't you? What can they reveal to us?
So these are days of transparency and disclosure, Stephen, and of course there's been a lot of concern in the game of rugby league that because it lives hand to mouth, it's never bought any assets. Whatever happened to Chairman Smith's future fund, by the way?
Yes, saving your pennies for that rainy day.
The $50 million Sonny Bill Williams Israel Folau war chest.
Yeah.
What's happened to Chairman Smith?
He's living high on the hog, obviously. Have we checked where he is?
I'm guessing
isolated on an island somewhere in the Caribbean?
I'm guessing Argentina.
Yeah.
But anyway, despite the money going missing in rugby league, the individual clubs are forced to open up their books as part of the transparency.
And would you say most are struggling? In debt?
Very much so, Stephen. And this is part of the concern. If the broadcast money doesn't flow, and again, if the arts had learned their lesson, they'd be broadcasting Chorus Line live tonight.
And surely that was not the world heroes that are the Warriors. That wouldn't have been brought to their attention that if they didn't keep playing, their bank balance would go very, very down very quickly.
Isn't it funny that the players wanted to be partners in the game? They might want to reconsider that particular position right now. Yeah. But the clubs have to declare their thing because obviously they see the flow on of the broadcast revenue.
Yes.
Now, it seems that the Sydney Roosters, which is, I would have thought, the paragon because it has the N-word managing them, Uncle Nick Politis, successful business person, city forward, rolling in the dough. How much profit do you think the Roosters cleared last financial year?
Well, it depends on which bank account you're checking, Kris.
Right.
We've all heard of Panama Papers, right?
Right, okay. Well, this is the point. This is the bank account they've shown us.
Oh, they've shown us, right, okay. You've got access to that.
Yeah. $8,863 profit.
$63? Any cents?
$8,863, that's it.
And no cents?
No
Who
cents.
talks sense?
No.
Do you know it's made up then?
Yeah.
Straight off the bat.
So one wonders whether the game...
And can you not take anything under $10,000 out of the country?
That's a very good point.
At any given point, that's how much they've got in the bank, and then they just move it out, get another one, move it out, get another one.
Well, before Morrison shut the borders, Politis was heading back home to Kithra.
Kithra.
And he filled in the form.
Yeah.
Are you carrying $10,000 worth of currency? And he goes, no.
What's in the bag? Don't worry.
And they said, he goes, $8,863, which is legal tender.
Good to go.
Yeah.
So it's not in the Caribbean, not at Panama. It's in Kithra. Now, what other family member comes from Kithra? We brought this up this morning.
Yes, Lord Volandis.
Lord Volandis. The two families, virtually related from Kithra.
And Nick Pappas from South would be in the mix somewhere there as well.
So, I don't know, where did the Greeks store their money? In a well, under their beds, up a tree? I mean, is there...
They've had particular economic difficulties, the Greeks, haven't they? Yeah. And I just think that they sort of, that's just actually... Because the place is fantastic when you go there. It's a holiday destination. I mean, Mykonos is beautiful.
Kris, they invented everything.
Exactly right. They invented everything. Yeah. I just think that what Politis has done is he's brought Greek accounting principles to the Roosters and that money is sloshing around somewhere, probably under the stewardship of Chairman Smith, who would have done a deal.
Fantastic. But now Lord Volandis got to deal with that as well.
So much to deal with.
Now, we have talked about this, who are the winners and who are the losers, the highs and lows, the negatives, the positives. Now, it is upon us to reveal, of course, that let's not talk about struggling artists. When you talk about entertainers, Kris, the famous entertainers, the famous sports stars, the ones that have basketball shoes named after them, the ones that fill out opera houses and big stadium tours, etc., etc. They're always high profile. Everybody knows about them, and they're like lauded. They're heroes. People just want to be them. Nobody wants to be a scientist.
That's the word you've just hit on, Stephen.
Yeah.
They are our heroes.
They are our heroes.
They are the people we aspire to be.
Exactly.
I mean, if you don't aspire to be Hugh Jackman or Cameron Smith, there's something wrong with you.
Who is the lead, dare I say, biotechnician or physician or whatever that's trying to track down the vaccine at this point in time? Do you know?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Wouldn't have a clue. No.
Are we even trying to do it?
No. I know we've all heard of the famous heart transplant dude at the St Vinny's, and all those surgeons that get a bit of publicity. But generally speaking, doctors, anybody with a high degree, never gets any attention until this current climate, Chris.
Isn't that interesting?
And suddenly the artists are struggling. They can't play. They can't tour. They can sell merch, but you've got nothing to go with the merch.
So the COVID-20 has wiped out the artistic community, finishing the work that the lockouts
Whole of sport.
originally did.
Yes. Lockout, lockdown.
The last vestiges of Australian sport are playing in front of empty stadiums.
Struggling along.
Which is, let's just face it.
One leg.
It's a sick joke.
Yeah, sick
it's a
joke.
sick joke.
Yeah,
it's a parody.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a farce.
How long can they last?
It's a farrago.
That's right.
Or as they say in the AFL, it's a brouhaha.
Yeah. And we vow to stop as soon as rugby league stops, correct?
Right, we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
We won't be on air. So we finally, it gets us as well. I
Absolutely.
mean,
We're victims.
We've outlasted so many people.
We're victims.
So suddenly, and we know that a world without heroes is not a world at all.
No, it's not, Chris.
So it's a chance for the scientists,
Yes.
the medical researchers,
Yes, exactly.
the supermarket delivery people.
You're
to
putting
be-
them in the same category.
Yes, to be our new heroes, the maker of medical supplies, the
Right,
ventilator constructors, the
Yes.
testing kits,
Sanitised wipe makers.
the people at the front lines, exactly,
Right,
the
yeah.
hand sanitizer production
Uber
lines.
deliverer.
These are the new heroes.
The new heroes.
And if that's the world going forward, Stephen,
Yeah.
it's not a world I want to live in.
No, and I just can't wait for the song for the ad. You know, these are our heroes. Like the bushfires were the fires were the heroes. Just a month and a half ago.
Fire,
We're in trouble.
If I got to look at a bunch of doctors and scientists and researchers and fireys, and they're putting "I am, we are all Australians,"
Right, yeah.
and I can't see people
Is that a world you want to live in?
in a rugby league jersey
Yeah.
or in a lame jacket
yeah.
singing rock and roll. I'm done.
No, you're done. So not just here, you're done.
Done.
Stop. You as a person.
Full stop.
Gone.
Like next spaceship out of here.
And look, can I just reiterate climate change? Really? You know? Bugs? Not real, is it? Is it?
It's all made up.
It's all made up. Now, you may have heard, of course, given the dire straits, I think, of the artistic community, you may have heard about the 3 busloads that left Sydney. It was literally just like locusts, spreading across the state looking for food. They were making these click-clack noises as they were heading in these 3 buses to any rural supermarket they could find to raid for, not just food, but all sorts of services and goods, right? And I from allegedly... Brendan Cowell, actor, was at the front of the bus.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah. I think there's a couple of opera singers in one of them.
This sounds like Carnahan written all over it to me. He'd be part of this again. That's not.
Well, he hasn't been here for 3 weeks.
That's
has
right.
he? Yeah.
He's been leading.
So I think the creative director of the Belvoir Theatre was on one of the buses. The head of the Opera House, and they were just going and raiding shit because they've got no jobs. They've got nothing.
Kate Blanchett's got pallets organised.
It's pallets of toilet paper.
Stacked.
I know.
It's just.
It's deplorable. What are they going to do that?
Well,
They can't sing for their money. They tried singing outside of Woolies. It didn't work. There was Brendan reciting poetry. No pennies at all.
is this given?
Giant dwarf gone.
Given that, well, it sure has. If this is what we're thinking it is, and Rugby League hasn't taken up the cudgels vis-a-vis the Homebush precinct,
No.
are we going to see sort of bunker style the entire Australian arts community living in Homebush Stadium?
Well, that's it. If the rugby league community won't take hold of home ground at Calliope or Homebush, put the arts community there. Let them fight it out for themselves. A la Snake, Escape from New York.
Snake Plissken.
Yeah, Snake Prison. That's
And,
right.
and the lesser well-received Escape
Yeah,
from
yeah.
LA.
Who do you think will survive that fight? Who would be the last person standing, Chris?
Oh, Cal. He's a scrapper.
Right, okay.
And he's a Sharks fan, and they're used to toxic
What
situations.
about Jimmy Barnes? Come on,
I'm
now.
worried about Barnsley.
He's a survivor.
This sort of brings a few things together
Darryl
for me,
will go down
Stephen.
quickly, but yeah.
Because Barnsley filmed that ad on the Allianz pit.
Yes.
Right, and I was concerned about
Asbestos.
what sort of material. So I feel for Barnsley.
Yeah.
But this all seems to play into Peter Fitzsimon's grand vision.
Right, yeah.
Because Peter Fitzsimons, as you know, has been a big opponent of the stadium redevelopment, Stephen.
Yes,
And he's written this week.
Oh, yes.
What's happening at the moment will be like World War I, Great Depression, World War II for previous
Is that
generations.
right? He's got the crystal ball.
It'll make September 11 look like a minor pimple on your bottom.
Is that right? Yeah.
He says the fallout will very likely be, and now let's face it, not only is Peter an internationally successful sports person, journalist and reporter,
Yep.
he's also a biotechnician and researcher.
Of course he is.
The fallout will very likely be millions of dead,
Millions of dead.
a change in the world order, an
Yes.
economic downturn
Yes,
that'll be
yes.
just like the Depression, as masses are thrown at unemployment, plus a big hit to the revenue of football codes in Australia.
At the very end there. Just
That's
throwing
right.
for good measure.
So he's
So
butted us up. So
He's not scaremongering, is he, Chris?
No, so if you think about it, you load all our cultural icons into the Homebush precinct at ANZ.
Yes.
You've got a pit at Allianz. He immediately says that what they need to do with the FS side at Moore Park is, how about giving Sydney what it most urgently needs, which I would have thought is a bit of economic stimulus.
Yes, yes.
A leafy green space for people to walk around in. Well, that's not going to fix the
Leafy
problem.
green space.
And they've got to keep apart.
This is after we've had the vaccine.
But he says that then all the money from the
So
refurb...
we just walk around it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And all the money from the refurb from ANZ can go into solving this problem. Because if there's one thing we know, no government ever, they'll bring them to their knees, they'll ruin their livelihood,
Yes.
but they won't allow artists to become extinct. Steve.
No. All right, look, can I make a bold claim?
Yes.
Last one standing.